What is up, everybody? Welcome to Pop Culture Philosophers. I am Rockin Robbie Billups, and it's time for a Rockin Robbie Live with, of course, a special guest. And when we have a special guest, we have a special co-host. Everybody, welcome Brianiac back to the show.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for having me again.
Always glad to have you here, Brian. Always glad.
Yeah, always glad, because I bring the room, right?
I wasn't even going to mention the room tonight, dude. Honest. I wasn't even going to mention
the
room.
I don't believe you.
No, I wasn't.
Don't believe you.
You mentioned it, and now you'll never know. Now you'll never, ever know. Anyway,
Absolutely.
Y'all, there's this comic book. It's called Deadbeats. And I got to tell you how much me and Brian love this book. You've heard us talk about it before because we've had Joe Corallo on the show a few times. But now we have his partner in crime as far as Deadbeats goes. And they're kickstarting a volume 2 right now. So let me welcome writer, editor extraordinaire. His work you can see on the upcoming Blacksmith from Ahoy Comics. You can check it out on Atlantis Wasn't Built for Tourists from Scout Comics, which has been doing some really great work lately. So everybody, give a mighty, hearty station to Eric Palicki. Station.
Thanks so much for having me, you guys. I'm really excited to be here.
We're excited to have you here. So for anybody who doesn't know, why don't you tell us real quick who you are and what you do with Deadbeats? What is Deadbeats? And why should they care about the new one?
Sure. Yeah, we've got the Deadbeats 2 Kickstarter going on right now. Deadbeats is a horror anthology, and it's sort of got a musical theme to it. And it is all centered around the fictional Deadbeats record store, which is run by the mysterious shopkeeper. Now, the shopkeeper, she acts as kind of a host as we go through these these horror stories of various genres across the full spectrum of horror subgenres, but all with a musical angle to them. And the way she does it is she sort of acts like the crypt keeper, introducing stories throughout. She's not in every story, but we did some cool interstitials in the first volume with Lisa Sturl, and then in the second volume, Val Halverson has taken over doing these cool interstitials where the shopkeeper comes in and introduces the stories, gives you a tour of the Deadbeats record store. And in volume 2, it is centered around the shopkeeper opening up her new location in London, England. So the subtitle of Deadbeats 2 is London Calling.
You know, I am a huge Clash fan. So when I saw that, I was like, well, not only am I definitely going to have to check it out because I love the first one, but London Calling, come on, right? That's great. The book is great. You definitely got to check out Deadbeats. There's a link in the description below to the Kickstarter. There's some different tiers. You can get a t-shirt, you can get a signed book plate. That's the one I opted for. So awesome. I'm very excited about that. And you can also, there's a tier where you can get volume 1 and volume 2 together. This is a fantastic book and a lot of fantastic creators. How did you and Joe wind up getting so many of these fantastic artists and writers on board for Deadbeats?
Well, for the first volume, you know, it was just the networking that Joe and I have collectively done over years of going to conventions, doing cons, doing comics, meeting people there, and then asking politely. And I think that for the first volume, we did a great mix of established talent and some upcoming creators who, you know, we let them shoot their shot. And I think it made for a really cool and eclectic mix in the first volume. And then I think we, if anything, with all due respect to the lineup in the first volume, I think we knocked it even farther out of the park in the second volume. Our second volume, we've got Lila Sturgis, we've got Ron Mars, we've got William Mesner Loebs, Jody Hauser, Adam Gorham, Lila Kangas, Melissa White, and just a ton. Jeremy Lambert, you know, just a whole host of new and upcoming talent once again, and everyone is just bringing their A game.
Heck yeah, I'm super excited. Brian, I know you're a big Deadbeats fan. What do you think? What do you got to say?
Well, yeah, I was excited to hear that you're doing a number 2. Love the first one. I have to say it's probably my favorite anthology. I mean, like, you know, a lot of anthologies, like, you know, it's quite a mix and everything like that. But I mean, pretty, you know, it's really solid, from front to back. Yeah, I'm really excited about the new lineup, as well. And I'm in Liana's Patreon group, Discord thing, and so she was saying that she was actually carrying on the story that you wrote with her. Is
that is correct? Yeah. I think this is the first time we've officially, beyond what Liana has said in her Patreon Discord.
Way to go, Brian! Way to go!
No, this is a great opportunity to talk about it. Liana has been spreading her wings a little bit and branching out and doing some writing. She co-wrote a TKO short called Seeds of Eden she actually co-wrote it with Joe. And so when Joe and I were putting together the lineup for Deadbeats 2, I think we both really wanted Liana to be a part of it because she's such an awesome human and a great creator and a good friend of ours. And, knowing that what her schedule would allow and that she wanted to do some more writing, we offered her this opportunity. And then she came back, and it was really very cool and flattering to me when she said, hey, I want to do a sequel to our story, which was in the first volume called The Interview. And I don't want to spoil that story, but it really is a riff on the rock musician selling his or her soul to the devil concept. And she said, well, I want to revisit those characters. I want to revisit, the twist that we gave that story at the end. And that was super flattering. And Adam Gorham is going to be illustrating it, which is doubly cool. I think it's going to be one of the highlights of the book.
Yeah, he's actually penciling it right now. If you follow him on Instagram, like you can actually see a little works in progress there. I don't know. It's pretty exciting. It's looking good.
Yeah, super excited about that. I think, Robbie, your volume cut out.
It sure did. I had it muted, and I totally forgot that I had it muted. I said, speaking of Liana,
look very confident.
She's doing covers for the Blacksmith book from Ahoy, right?
Yes, she is. And why don't
you tell us a little bit about that? Because it's kind of like a werewolf detective story, noir type thing or something.
Yeah. It is a horror noir, but at the same time, it will have that sort of signature Ahoy sense of humor to it. It is about a werewolf private investigator who lives and works in Los Angeles, and she is hired to find a missing artifact of potentially biblical proportions. And it carries her, the case carries her through the secret supernatural underground of Los Angeles, where she meets jinn and vampires and demons and ghosts and other supernatural forces that we haven't even revealed yet. I'm really excited about it. Interior art is going to be by Wendell Cavalcanti, who was my collaborator on Atlantis Wasn't Built for Tourists. And it is going to be printed in black and white with gray tones. He did all of the gray tones himself. And Liana's handling the covers, but we've got variant covers for issue 1 by Jamal Eigel, and issue 2 is going to be Steve Pugh, and they're both gorgeous, as well as the main covers by Liana, of course.
That's awesome. How's it been like working with Ahoy? That's some veteran talent over there.
It is incredibly intimidating. We filmed a virtual panel for the San Diego Comic-Con at Home programming that'll be up later in July. And I'm on this panel, and I'm at least virtually seated between Stuart Moore and Tom Pyre, who between them have, 50, 60 years of industry experience. And it's definitely a little intimidating. That much talent, they're both established writers, but they're also seasoned editors from DC and the Vertigo line. And I just really didn't want to disappoint them and let them down with this book. And they seem to be pretty happy with it. So
that's super cool. Ahoy does some great books. Second Son is one of my favorite ones over there from, isn't it Second Son? Is that the name of the book?
Second Coming.
Second Coming. That's right. Second Son's the the next Batman book going on right now. Yeah, the Mark Russell one with Jesus and Superman hanging out, basically.
Right.
So they got a nice. I mean, it's obviously they have a Vertigo sense, and there's a reason for that. So I'm really excited to check out this book, and that cover looks great. And I've seen some of the interior work, and that looks great as well.
Yeah, I'm just really proud of how that book came out. I feel like the entire creative team was firing on all cylinders. Myself and Wendell and Liana, obviously, but also the editor on the book, Sarah Litt, who is another DC Vertigo veteran editor. She was our editor on the project, and I think she really complemented the rest of the team and made the book better with her presence.
Nice. So how did you get into this crazy world of comic books, Eric?
Oh, it's one of those, I wanted to be a storyteller in some fashion from the time I was 12 years old. And I think at some point in my college years, I realized that I just didn't have the patience to write novels. And comics seemed like a good compromise, a good way to tell the stories I wanted to tell without having to wait years between publishing a novel or writing a novel, for that matter.
Yeah, right. That seems, I feel like if I was trying to be a novelist, it would be like Jack Nicholson in The Shining, just in my apartment, just freaking out, just losing it.
Yeah. And that's the beauty of comics is they're by their nature collaborative, and, not just from an individual book standpoint, but also from a community standpoint. And I don't think that I would have managed to stay sane, like you said, if I had to hole up in a weird hotel in the Colorado mountains to write my novels.
Yeah. But if you do have to do that, make sure you pick a non-haunted hotel or pick a haunted one, whatever, floats your boat. I don't know. Some people that would be very exciting. I feel like it would be exciting. I'd just stay out of that one damn room. I would have listened to Scatman. That's what I would have done differently. But that's just me. Danny was a kid, right? So
sure. I think it's interesting in between the three of us, you are both obviously veterans of being on camera, and I'm like, I've got my face really close. I feel like MODOK right now, just like this giant head relative to you two.
Yeah, I have a friend who we actually both have a friend who loves MODOK so much, and he built a MODOK cosplay, and it was just a helmet he put on his head, and he just wore legs. Yeah, it had little legs, and he just wore all black, and so it was just a MODOK head floating around. It looked really freaking cool. So
yeah.
Now most people though, Brian always goes too far back, and so now I'm trying to match him, and I'm in Studio B now, and I'm trying to match him so that he doesn't look so tiny, so like Ant-Man, but it works.
Yeah, I've got
this low, comfy chair, so it's kind of hard to position. So
yeah, I've got this whole makeshift thing going on where my laptop is on a big stack of books, so the camera's from a downward angle, so you can't see my double chin, and it's
that sounds like my first live stream I ever did. I did that. I was like, I need to get this camera up higher. Heck yeah. No, you're doing fine though, Eric. Big head and all. Just kidding.
Great,
you don't have a big head.
It's pretty much it's been this big since I was born. I just grew into it.
Just grew into it. Nice. Nice.
Sorry, Mom. It's a whole.
How did so you wanted to be a writer, and you said that you didn't know if you had the patience to be a novelist, and so you looked into like comic script writing, right? It's very similar to like say TV or film script writing. It's similar, but the format's way different. The medium's completely different, right?
Yeah, sure.
But like, what were the comics that got you into the idea that comics were something like a valid form of artistic expression and writing?
Sure. Well, I've always thought that they were a valid form of of storytelling. In high school, I discovered comics in 6th grade, junior high, and read them for a few years, and that was right around the early 90s when all of the artists at the time were these rock stars like Todd McFarlane and Rob Liefeld. They were getting Levi's jean commercials and, talking about how they were able to buy their parents a house with the money they made on Youngblood #1 and what have you. And I loved that stuff. I loved the Claremont era X-Men and Larry Hama on Wolverine. And then when all those artists left to do Image, I followed Image for a few years, but those stories didn't really, there wasn't a lot of nutritional value to those stories, I guess.
Yeah.
And there wasn't much to stick to my bones. Right. And so I kind of abandoned it, as people do when they're in 9th, 10th grade. I was discovering, other things, sports, and in my case, girls. And so, I gave up on comics, but then towards my junior, senior year of high school, I started to discover things like Sandman and Sin City and all of this really adult, mature content that could be done in the comic book space. And then what really cemented comics as a legitimate art form to pursue was I was casually at a Barnes & Noble and I was looking at, I think it was The Authority. Both the first volumes of The Authority and Planetary were reprinted with Warren Ellis's script in the back of the book. And like seeing his scripts, which are not overly wordy, they're not Alan Moore, novels with panel breakdowns. And it was like, I can absolutely do this. I can do this quickly. This is something that I do, as I said, I have the patience for. And, after a decade of writing really bad attempts at, aping Warren Ellis's style and scripts, we got to the point where I was making comics that were at least good enough to show to people. And, with the help of a lot of friends in the industry, I got better and here we are.
Oh, yeah, that's awesome. So, well, kind of segue into that with, because you've been editing, right? And you're,
sure.
Editing the Deadbeat. I was wondering what's it like, editing people like William Mester Loebs and Rachel Pollack, and because these are absolute legends.
I bet Joe just lets them do whatever the hell they want. I bet there's like no bad notes from Joe.
That's Joe is a great editor, and I am not going to, he definitely is good at notes. He definitely is the person who will restrain me if I get too heavy into giving notes to these comic book legends. My interest is in making the story as good as possible. And, obviously the more you do this, the fewer notes that you need. Joe's saying kind of, the more you do this, the fewer notes you need generally. So absolutely, William Messner Loebs, Ron Mars, Rachel, they got very few notes. So, that was allowed us both to sort of focus on, helping and shepherding along some of the newer voices that we brought into the fold for both Deadbeats and Deadbeats 2, which I think is, that's definitely where our attention belongs as editors. And then, we also giving notes on the art side, making sure that the artist is, sticking true to the writer's vision, or definitely adding something rather than taking something away.
Absolutely. I couldn't imagine like trying to edit one of my favorite like writers, somebody who I respected so much. I would just be like I don't even think Grant Morrison is edited since for 20 years. I think it's part of his contracts. I have no idea. But if I that would just terrify me. That would just terrify me. It's interesting that you mentioned seeing the Warren Ellis scripts, because you're right. It's not an Alan Moore type script where it's like a page and a half of description for a panel, right? Because he's crafting some magical work or something. We're trying to go for some ultimate effect, and it's not like a Tom King script, which is just like Batman scowls, Batman, Catwoman meows, meow, which I like both of their styles, and there's so many different ways. So was that kind of like your starting point, was kind of like working on that and then developing your own kind of feel and vibe? And I'm sure it's different once you work with an artist and you have like that collaboration going.
Sure. I mean, like I said, Wendell and I, when we did Blacksmith, we had already just come off Atlantis wasn't built for tourists. And prior to that, we had a 10-year history of making mini comics and pitches that never went anywhere. So our styles were pretty simpatico by the time we got to Blacksmith. So a script that I would write for him is significantly more pared down than a script that I would write for a new artist, or an artist rather that was new to me, an artist that I was working with for the first time.
Nice. Who came up with the idea of doing the anthology centered around music?
That was all Joe. That was 100% Joe. He had the idea of creating a Crypt Keeper type host who would be the proprietor of the record store. And then we both worked a little bit in tandem with Lisa Sterl, who was the artist on the first book's interstitial chapters and the cover, to kind of give her that look.
And her artwork is amazing on those bits. I love them. My copy, by the way, always like to show this off, but mine's signed by Liana and Vida Ayala. So super excited. One day I'm going to meet all of you and you will all sign this.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to the world starting to spin again so that we can get out and go to conventions and sign books and talk to fans and have that experience, that communal experience. Like I was talking about earlier in the show, is, it's one of the really great things about comics that I don't think you get when you're a prose fiction writer.
Oh yeah, right. You have those like book signings where you just have this like long line of people that you just kind of get through or whatever. If you're like, a Stephen King or whatever, I don't even know. He probably doesn't do that kind of stuff anymore. I don't know.
I don't know.
Brian, where are you at? What are you thinking?
Well, bringing the music in again. I mean, is there any specific types of music you listen to while you're writing, or?
I listen to all kinds of stuff. I mean, we talked about the fact that Deadbeats 2 is subtitled London Calling, and Robbie mentioned The Clash, and I should bring up that our werewolf PI in Blacksmith is Janie Jones Strummer Mercado. That's her name.
Nice.
And she inherited
even more down now.
She inherited two things from her father: a love of The Clash and the ability to turn into a werewolf. So that plays a big part in our story, and I like to think of myself as just about the biggest The Clash fan that's out there. As far as what I listen to, I definitely create a playlist when I start a new project with, it varies. I like a lot of punk. I like a lot of folk. I like, all kinds of stuff. My musical tastes are, it's about 100 miles wide and about 2 inches deep. But yeah, and then I like to, even if the playlist doesn't necessarily have a lot to do with the story itself, I kind of like to play that same playlist every time I'm working on a particular project, because it brings me back to the mood I had the previous session when I was writing.
Yeah, it's got this ritualistic aspect to it, almost in a way. It takes you right back into that zone, that mental space, right, if need be.
Yeah, I think that was a trick I learned reading an article on comics writing by Kieran Gillen, who's another very music-oriented comics writer.
Brian, what I want to know is, what music do you listen to when you read Deadbeats?
Well, when I was rereading it this week, I was listening to Steve Reich, which may not play as well into it, but that's typically, I tend to listen to classical type stuff when I'm reading. So may not have blended that well.
Yeah, I know a lot of comics writers say that they can't listen to music with lyrics when they write, and that has never been a problem for me. But I totally understand where they're coming from with that.
We got a good question from the Name Changes. He says, or they say, favorite song from London Calling. Mine would be Lost in Supermarket or Guns of Brixton. Both are excellent choices.
Yes. My favorite song from London Calling is Rudy Can't Fail.
Nice.
Yeah, that might be my all-time favorite Clash song.
Nice. I don't want to sound too generic, but my favorite is London Calling. So, or The Guns of Brixton. I really like that one too. So, and Spanish Bombs. I like the whole damn album. I mean, it's hard to. Yeah, I just like the and the dun dun dun, like that stabby guitar. That's just like, I feel like when I listen to London Calling, it's just like stabbing me back to life. I don't know.
Yeah, there's a live album that they put out from their last tour with the original lineup, and it was when they were opening for the Who in the United States, and it was live at Shea Stadium. And I absolutely recommend you check out that album, either on its own or even if you go to Spotify. The live version of London Calling on that is phenomenal.
Yes, it is phenomenal. Brian, what's your favorite track on London Calling?
It's probably London Calling. It's I love that one. So, but I haven't heard that live one. I'll have to check that out. So sure.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. I will say the first time I read Deadbeats, though, I probably played a Debaser way too many times after that one. Joe's story was on that one. So, but that's one of my favorite all-time songs. So
I have a feeling the whole idea came out of Joe being like, I want to write a story called Debaser because that's just such an amazing, Pixies, right? Let's do it.
Yeah, and he and Jen Hickman really knocked it out of the park with that story too.
Yeah, you didn't do so bad yourself.
Well, thank you.
I was saying, that's one of my favorites in the entire anthology, and I'm not just saying that because you're here. I would say it. I would said it if you weren't here. But
I appreciate you saying that. Regardless of whether it's true or not, I appreciate it.
Yeah, right. Who cares? It's just all lip service. Who cares? Anyway, I'm just joking. We know that Joe really likes horror movies, and he's into some really cool, fun, gnarly stuff that I share a collected interest with him. Are you big into horror movies? Are you because you seem to be going into, you do a lot of work with that, right?
So the dirty secret is that I enjoy horror as an idea more so than I enjoy the execution. I really enjoy supernaturally tinted and supernaturally inspired stories more so than slasher and gore. Big influences are like the television show Supernatural and Buffy, which have a horror element, but I wouldn't classify them as horror, right? It's supernatural, but not horror, if that makes sense. What really, horror movies that I've really enjoyed, I really enjoyed the first Conjuring. I really enjoyed the first Sinister, some early stuff. And again, it's a 600 miles wide, but only about 2 or 3 inches deep. So I really need to hit up Joe to give me some tips on some cult classics and some deep cuts to check out.
Oh, I'm sure he could give you a whole slew of them, and I could as well. Brian, not so much, but that's okay. We don't judge all. So.
As far as what I find scary, though, like things like Silence of the Lambs, that have this plausibility to them, I find much scarier than the supernatural horror stories. Yeah.
Oh yeah, because it could actually happen,
Sure.
know. And have you ever seen the movie Frailty with Bill Paxton?
Oh, I love Frailty.
Like that movie scares me because that could happen. Somebody who believes that their God has told them to kill these people because they're evil, and then convinces their children to do it. Like that is so freaking horrifying to me because it's so real, Yeah.
Frailty was one of those movies that I saw it and I loved it, and its existence deep-sixed a comics pitch that I had in the works because of its similarity to something I was working on.
Oh man,
which is fine. That's good. It's better to have that happen, now rather than 4 issues into the project.
Yeah.
But yeah, I absolutely love that movie.
Heck yeah. What are some of your, what's your favorite types of movies? Like what's your Mount Rushmore of movies?
Oh, I shouldn't I spoke too soon because I really enjoy John Carpenter's horror movies, The Thing, and In the Mouth of Madness, especially.
That's so dope. That's a great movie that more people, I think, and it's starting to get more appreciated, but that movie is brilliance, I think.
Yeah. And, but I mean, my all-time favorite Carpenter movie is Big Trouble in Little China. Like, gotta have that
Yes.
love of, it's just like I said, that goes back to, some supernatural elements, but just an incredible sense of humor, which is kind of what we're going for with a little bit with Blacksmith. Things like that. It's not to be too basic about it, but obviously the original Star Wars trilogy, Die Hard, Casablanca, Lawrence of Arabia is a good classic movie that I think, is kind of one of those movies that people think about as kind of being this stuffy, belongs in it's taught in a film class, but it's also a really entertaining 4-hour movie. The original Matrix. I was just talking the other day about how the first Matrix movie and The Prestige are two movies that have, in my mind, the platonic ideal of a first 5 minutes. The Matrix, both of those movies are science fiction movies that you wouldn't necessarily know were science fiction movies if not for the first scene in either movie.
Yeah.
The Prestige it's a little bit more oblique because all you see, if people don't remember, it opens with just that field filled with Nikola Tesla's. I kept wanting to call him David Bowie because David Bowie plays Nikola Tesla. But
or did Tesla play Bowie? I think.
Nikola Tesla's top hats, and then we don't get another science fictional element in that movie for an hour and a half. But by the time we do, it explains the hats that we saw in the very first scene, and we realize that we've been on this science fictional journey the whole time. And it's not just a period drama. And then The Matrix, I don't know that The Matrix would have worked if not for Trinity's gravity-defying chase scene with the agents at the beginning. Because again, it becomes this sort of, at least normal reality after that scene. And we don't see the science fiction elements pop up again for an hour.
Yeah. That movie, both of those movies do so well of you not actually knowing what the movie is and what it's about, but keeping you completely engaged all the way through. And you're right. It starts with that opening scene. You gotta have that. I remember the first time I watched The Matrix and just being in shock the entire time, and I brought my friend Abraham to watch it with me for my second time, his first. And like literally at one point when Morpheus says, "The Matrix, what is it? It's all around you." And Abraham just screams out, because we worked at the theater. There weren't many people there. It was a matinee. And he just goes, "I don't know what the fuck that means." Like, what the fuck is going on in this movie?
To this day, The Matrix is the movie that I have seen the most in theaters. And it was exactly that. I saw it, it blew my mind. So I grabbed any friend I could find and went back to the theater to show him this mind-blowing sci-fi movie. And I just repeated that over and over. I think I saw it 7 or 8 times in the theater.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's way better than Brian's record of 23 times watching Attack of the Clones.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, I did that. Yeah, I remember. I didn't know what I was going to see with The Matrix because I didn't even know that's what we were going to see. I was just going with my friends to the movies, and it was an amazing experience. And that's a great observation. That because if it had just started off with Keanu in the office and all that, very muted colors and everything like that, it would have been pretty tough. But yeah, that Lawrence of Arabia, I'm not a big fan of really long movies. There are a couple that I like though, and I was kind of tricked into watching that one because they my friends promised a big meal in the middle and they told me there was an intermission. But you're right, that movie is awesome. Actually, like it's well worth the 4 hours. So,
is that your favorite long ass epic ever, Eric?
As far as movies that are longer than 3 hours, it's definitely I like it better than Braveheart, and I like it better than anything that Kevin Costner's ever directed.
I agree.
I'm with that. I have to go for Seven Samurai on that one, but you know.
Oh yeah, Seven Samurai is fantastic. I mean, if you've read Atlantis Wasn't Built for Tourists, you know I'm a big Kurosawa fan. So.
Yeah, everybody should be a huge Kurosawa fan, like 100%. And Seven Samurai is one of the best. And that one's, I'm trying to think of what else is long like that. You know, I mean, we like 10 Commandments is I actually have a big soft spot for the 10 Commandments, the not the silent one, but the one with Charlton Heston and Yul Brynner. I just love that movie so freaking much. I used to watch that every like Easter Sunday. I think ABC played it or something like that. I grew up in the Baptist church, so I was into that stuff, and I still love that movie. I got the nice Blu-ray box set that the movies they come in 2 stone tablets. They're not actually stone, right? But to open the set, you literally have to part the Red Sea. So you open up the Red Sea like this, and then you see the people walking through the middle, and then you can pull the movies out.
That's fantastic.
Whoever designed that is like genius.
And then Zack Snyder's Justice League, which I think makes an excellent bookend with the 10 Commandments.
It does. Yeah. It's like it really does. Are you being like? Do you really like the Snyder cut, or are you just being like super funny?
I'm trying to be super funny. I find I didn't think that the Whedon cut was as bad as everyone thought it was.
Bruh.
I didn't think the Snyder cut was as good as everyone thought it was. I feel like there's somewhere in between those two movies, there's a good Justice League movie.
Yeah. I can dig that.
You know, it's 4 hours is a lot. And when every scene is a slow-mo, then you sort of lose the impact of doing the slow-mo scenes. You know, if you just sped up those slow-mo scenes, you could have knocked 45 minutes off the movie.
That alone would have shortened the movie, right?
Yeah.
You take out the weird scene of the young woman like sniffing Aquaman's sweater and singing to him, you know.
All right. And like, let's be honest, why does Aquaman even fuck with shirts? Like,
right.
There's a scene where he is wearing a shirt and rescues somebody, brings them to shore, and then goes back into the water and takes off his shirt. Like, why is he wearing a shirt? Where did the shirt come from? Why is he wearing the shirt? He's
wearing that shirt so we can see Jason Momoa take it off. That's why.
Right. So that's
a glorious sight to see.
Right, and the Scandinavian, young women can sniff it and sing to him, and
that can't smell good either. Though,
it has
right?
gotta smell like just salt, fish parts and
salt and fish, blood.
Right. All that beer he's been drinking.
We should make an Aquaman perfume or cologne or a candle. I guess candles are the rages right now.
Just smells like shrimp.
Yeah, shrimp. At least they're cleaned shrimp though, you know. So you got to say that, right?
Yeah.
Brian, did you like the Justice League Snyder cut, right? Or did you not? I don't remember.
No, I'd say overall I liked it, but I had a hard time getting through it all in one sitting there. But I guess part of what I thought it suffered from is a lot of this was some of the they were having to establish characters like the Marvel universe. They had individual movies leading up to all these things, so you didn't have to when they had their team up movies, you didn't have to do all this character build up and everything. But I did like what they added for Cyborg a lot. I thought that was really cool. And then I was glad that Flash's powers were used more, to bigger and better effect. Because, he's huge in the DC universe. And it didn't seem like he was used very, very well in that first one. And
it was absolutely a disservice to Cyborg, especially
Yes.
what was done to his character arc in the Whedon cut. And I know that, like, you know, there are some issues with Whedon as a director that have come to light, but also we have to remember that he was working under a studio mandate to shorten this movie from 4 hours of the rough cut to something that was more palatable for the theatrical audiences. And definitely, I think I liked the Zack Snyder cut a lot better because I could watch it at home and I could pause it whenever I needed to go get a snack or take a walk around the block or use the restroom or, you know, sleep for 4 hours and come back to it. But, you know, yeah, but it's, you know, it was a long movie and I didn't feel like my time was wasted, which, you know, really all you can ask for. And to Brian's point, like, definitely, I think all of the DC extended universe stuff is suffering from Warner Brothers feeling like they have to play catch up because, you know, Marvel's now into a decade plus of being able to build out their universe, and DC is trying to do in half that time what Marvel was able to do.
Yeah. You know, I think they had the potential to, because I would say the average person, at least in America, knows who Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman are, much, you know, more so than Captain America, Thor, and Iron Man, right? So I felt like Marvel needed that time, and DC wouldn't have needed the time. But, you know, Snyder, DC or not, Snyder's a kind of divisive, polarizing director. Like, people, there's not many people that seem like they're like, oh, I think Snyder's okay. Like, they either love him or they hate him. You know, me personally, I love Snyder. I've loved every film he's made except for one, and that was Sucker Punch. I don't get that one. But I am a Snyder fan, and I do though feel, and I said this in our review of it when it came out, was that there is a really good 2.5 hour Justice League movie in that 4 hour cut, you know, and then you could add in the Flash Superman race that Whedon did, and then you just have a perfect movie there. So
sure. And I think I think that Zack Snyder is an excellent director, but he might not be a great storyteller. And what I say with this is, you know, visually his movies are always fantastic. Even Sucker Punch, which
looks great.
Yeah, it looks phenomenal. You know, his best movie in my mind is, you know, the one he didn't write, which was Dawn of the Dead, which was, you know, James Gunn script, in fact. So I think, you know, from an aesthetic standpoint, like, you know, let's have Snyder making movies for days, but maybe he should just work with other writers for a little while.
Yeah, that's probably not a bad idea. Have you seen Army of the Dead yet?
I have not yet watched Army of the Dead.
I really like Army of the Dead, but there's a lot to it that they do not explain or really even get into. Like, and it's cool because it fuels a bunch of fan theories, and apparently they're doing this animated series that's going to probably flesh out some stuff, but that movie is actually way more science fiction, I think, than people thought it was going to be. But, you know, it is just a heist movie in the middle of a zombie apocalypse. It was great. Brian, have you seen it yet?
No, I haven't seen it.
I had a lot of fun. It's 2.5 hours, but it didn't feel long to me. And I mean, all the character arcs are kind of cliche, but it gave like Dave Bautista like room to really kind of like act a little bit, you know, and I thought he actually handled it well. So I thought the movie was pretty fun. And then, you know, they got rid of that one dude, right? Because like he was like sexual misconduct or something. So they got rid of this one comedian. So they put in this woman in the role, and she had to like film it in her backyard because it was COVID restrictions. And so they had to like marry her footage in with the movie, and it looks flawless. And Warner Brothers couldn't get rid of a mustache on Superman. Like, it just blows me away. Snyder could have gotten rid of that mustache. Anyway, that leads me to an idea, because we always get this question in the chat. So I'll go ahead and ask this. This is a good segue, because we were talking about the Justice League and this and that. Let's say you got the chance to do any character you wanted to in like a mini series or something at DC. Who would you go for?
Oh, it's Green Arrow.
Oh yeah.
No hesitation. I have thought about this for years. I know what story I want to tell. I want to do that character. He dresses like Robin Hood, so let's make him Robin Hood, and that's the story I want to tell.
Is Green Arrow one of your favorite DC characters?
He is. I've always really been attracted to and attached to. I don't want to say street level, because Iron Man, which I'll get to what I mean here, is I'm always most attached to human characters that exist in this world where there are literal gods, aliens, monsters, and humans that manage to find a way to coexist and stand alongside Superman or Thor. It's crazy that, Green Arrow not only does it, but he does it with a bow and arrow, which is a, 5,000-year-old tool, when there's lots of more modern options. Just right there. Batman, he does have the superpower, just like Zack Snyder said, he's rich. But even so, I really do enjoy Batman as a character. Tony Stark is, again, a human character who's figured out a way to exist and, live amongst these super soldiers and gods.
Are there any favorite Green Arrow runs that you have that like really helped you fall in love with that character? Or is it just the aspect of the kind of regular guy, regular gal placing themselves amongst a pantheon?
There have been a lot. Surprisingly, there are a lot of really good Green Arrow runs for a character that I think doesn't get the attention that he necessarily deserves alongside. I mean, he did get a TV series for 7 seasons, so maybe
to varying degrees of success, in my opinion, but
sure. But I mean, the Longbow Hunters, Mike Grell's The Longbow Hunters, which is right up there with Byrne's Man of Steel and Frank Miller's Year One as far as a reinvention of the character post-Crisis. And I think it's the one that doesn't get the attention that those other two do, and really deserves it. And then much more recently, I really love the Andy Diggle and Jock Green Arrow Year One miniseries.
Yeah, they pulled a lot of that for the show, right? Because of the island and all that stuff.
Yes, and China White and things like that. The Jeff Lemire and Ben Percy runs that were recently wrapped at DC were also really, really, really good.
Yeah, I really like that Lemire run. Really, was that the first time him and Sorrentino worked together? I think it might have been very early. So
I think so too. Yes.
Yeah, that run is freaking amazing.
Yeah, I just found out that Ben Percy wrote some of that Green Arrow stuff. I did read the Lemire run, and I absolutely love that one. But yeah, I want to go back and check out that Percy one.
Yeah, Lemire wrote it during the New 52 era, and then Ben Percy took over. I'm pretty sure it was Ben Percy took over for Rebirth.
Yes, it was. Otto Schmidt, I think, on the art at first, and yeah.
Oh, that's great.
It's some pretty cool stuff. It really is, and it's it was cool because they did the New 52. And I think it was Jurgens who wrote it at first, and it was like he was super young, and they were trying to make it hip and like the TV show, I think. And then they were like, they just were way off base, and then they brought in Lemire, and he kind of like settled it down. And then when Percy did his Rebirth run, he brought back the relationship aspect with him and Dinah and had that working. So, and then they had. I think they almost had Lansing and Kelly come in to wrap it up, but they didn't really get to do much. And it's a character right now that's just kind of meandering around. I mean, he's in Justice League, so DC, I know you're listening.
Give me a call. I'm right here. My phone's on.
This phone is on. So hell yeah.
Well, I really liked his, and I guess that kind of spun up some of the Mike Grell stuff. But when he was interacting with the Question and Denny O'Neil's run. Some of those stories are really solid with Green Arrow and that.
Yeah.
So. Yeah.
I mean, the character has, there's a lot of really good moments with the character, even in books that aren't his. I love him. I love him as the Deus Ex Machina in Dark Knight Returns, even with his.
Oh yeah.
I love Ollie in Dark Knight Returns.
Yeah.
And it's cool. You mentioned like it's just as important as Batman Year One or Superman Man of Steel. And what's even cooler, I think, about Longbow Hunters and Mike Grell's work. And me and Brian have met Mike, and Mike is super cool dude. I did a panel with him one time, and
awesome.
He's super cool dude. We'd had him at my shop actually. And what's crazy is that Frank Miller, has some statements on Batman, right? But he didn't do an extended run after that. And John Byrne, did take over Superman in Action Comics for about 20 something issues. But Mike Grell was working on Green Arrow forever, like forever. There's so much more that comes after Longbow Hunters, which is, I remember reading that for the first time as a teenager and being like, this is way more mature and violent and dark than I thought it would be. It's out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Like Longbow Hunters, I think stands alone as a really solid introduction to the character and statement on the character, as you said. But it does open up a whole lot of storylines, the stuff with Shadow and everything else that gets explored, moving forward in Grell's run for years and years after that, which isn't really like what Miller or Byrne or even what George Perez did in Wonder Woman. Just creating this years long story that spun out of the miniseries. If you got the chance with let's say Marvel, what would you do? Oh, Marvel's a little tougher. Because
and you do have published work at Marvel, right?
Yes, I have done a little bit of work at Marvel. I think I have a really good Hawkeye story, and I don't want to get like pigeonholed as the Archer guy.
Is it your Green Arrow story, but he's wearing purple?
No, it's very different. But I also I have a Moon Knight story that I really want to tell, and I don't know that it would work now with what Jason Aaron's doing with Khonshu and what has been done in the Moon Knight solo series. The stuff that Ellis did that fed into again, I think it was Jeff Lemire who took over and had an extended run on Moon Knight. So I guess basically I just want to follow Jeff Lemire around on his Big Two work. But no, I have a Moon Knight story that I've always really wanted to tell. I think, that's a fascinating character and opens there's a lot more you could do with the character than has been done previously. Yeah.
All right, and I guess I would ask you what Hawkeye runs do you really like, but I'm pretty sure there's just the one that most people talk about, right?
Yeah, yes, there is that one. The Jim McCann Hawkeye and Mockingbird stuff was also really good, though. But yeah, I mean, everyone talks about Fractions Hawkeye, but also the most recent Hawkeye Freefall miniseries that Matt Rosenberg wrote was also phenomenal. And then before that, Matt was also he did the Hawkeye and Winter Soldier miniseries.
Yeah, the Tales of Suspense one or whatever, right? Yeah.
I didn't read that. Is that pretty good?
Yeah, it's very good. They're trying to figure out if Black Widow's still alive after she was supposedly killed during
Secret Empire.
Secret Empire. I was going to say Secret Invasion. I was getting my Marvel events mixed up.
Half of them are secret. Most of them are wars. What's going on, Marvel?
Yeah.
Related to Hawkeye, I got a question, and maybe you don't want to. I'm just gonna go ahead and throw this out there. But any word of your sister being in the Hawkeye show?
I think she would have been up for it if she'd been asked, but she was not asked. That's what I said.
What are you doing, MCU?
Exactly that.
Mockingbird was the best part of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and I will stand by that.
She appreciates that, and I appreciate that. She has intimated on Twitter, I'm sure you've seen, that she would be willing to to go back if the time and the place and the story was right. So whether that ever happens, I don't know. I can't speak to that. Sometimes she tells me what's going on in her professional life. Sometimes she doesn't. I know that the Orville is taking up an awful lot of her time right now. And, you know, she's pretty much going to be doing that and only that through September. But, you know, after that, the sky's the limit.
Dope. You know, you guys collaborated on one of your projects. How was that?
That was great. I hope that we get to do it again sometime in a more sustained manner. For your audience who might not know, Adrienne and I co-wrote a mini series for Black Mask Studios called No Angel, which is about a woman who discovers that she may or may not be descended from angels. And that opens up an entire large mystery, again, of biblical proportions, that she has to navigate. And we collaborated on that. You know, we sat down, we plotted it out together. I wrote scripts. I sent them to her. She sent back notes. I ignored about half of them, but you know, that's just what siblings do, right?
Exactly.
It was interesting though, because she brought a very specific point of view to the project, being that she's in Hollywood and there are very specific story conventions that are expected in material that's suitable for Hollywood. Like, what's the love interest? You know, what's the sequel potential? And so, you know, we were able to incorporate some of that. And because it's comics and you can do anything you want in comics, you know, we were able to ignore some of that and still, I think, produce a book that I'm very proud of, and I believe she is too.
Oh, that's awesome. Awesome. Well, so what would you consider like your literary influences?
Like as far as outside of comics, or
yeah.
just, you know, I have a degree in English. I started off actually going to school in engineering. And then after about a year of that, I realized, and I just basically, I think I always knew, it just sort of confirmed that I didn't want to build spaceships. I just wanted to write stories about spaceships.
There you go.
But, you know, I mean, from a more recent author standpoint, you know, I grew up reading Madeleine L'Engle's A Wrinkle in Time. I didn't discover Tolkien because that was what I was reading whenever all of my friends who were nerds were reading Tolkien, but I was reading A Wrinkle in Time, and then I went right into adult fiction. I read a lot of Stephen King. From a more literary bent, you know, I really enjoy Hemingway's the sort of masculinity and terseness of his prose. Shakespeare, but that's almost a cliche. And and then you know, a lot of the science fiction writers. When I knew I wouldn't be a novelist, I thought maybe short stories, and so I read a lot of Bradbury and Theodore Sturgeon and Harlan Ellison, and you know, that you know, mid 20th century pulp science fiction school of thought and writing.
Okay. Oh yeah, that's really good stuff. Yeah, I was thinking about Hemingway today. Oh man, I can't remember the one. Oh man. But yeah, that's great. You know, synopsis of his work, the masculinity and the, because man, wish I could remember which one I was thinking about. But yeah, those are some great ones. With Harlan Ellison's short stories are just, yeah, those are fabulous. So yeah, I guess I was wondering, because you said, you know, leading up trying to write novels and everything. So because
Hey, look, it's your cousin, Brian.
it is my cousin. Hey, cousin.
What's up, Ibrahim? How you doing? Station. Thanks for popping in.
I love Ibrahim.
Yeah.
He literally is Brian's cousin, like no lie.
Well,
really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's not just a bit, like it's true.
No. Yeah. His mom is my first cousin. So.
Oh, fair. It's such a cool small world. So
Well, speaking of literary influence, he has Count come out recently. I don't know if you had a chance to check that one out.
I did. I bought it on day one.
Yeah,
it was phenomenal work. I'm really excited that he's able to do some writing, because there's a lot. Yeah, I don't want artists in general to figure this out, that they don't need writers, because but just like with Liana, it's sometimes the work that people primarily known as artists put out is just incredible, and the Count is a good example of that. But yeah, I mean, we must stop them before they figure out that writers are redundant.
Yeah, and I think it helps, because maybe it helps, but if they have to spend the time writing a script to show an editor, then maybe it takes up more time and they can get enough done efficiently and this and that. So I think it's all a trap, though, to just keep them as artists and not as writers, and to give you, Eric, job security. And I think that's rather selfish of y'all.
I mean, absolutely.
I'm just kidding.
I'm not. I'm gonna just be right here and tell you that that's exactly what I'm saying. Like cut it out, Ibrahim. Like, just quick, before I have to go back to a day job.
Oh, that's a good segue into this question, which I just thought of and then just forgot. So bear with me for just a second. I'm going to ramble for just 2 moments and then ask you, yes, speaking of Count, which is a new book, what are some of your favorite current comics that you're reading?
Oh, so I think that the indie comic space in general is just where it's at right now. I think there's just it feels like Image has been firing on all cylinders lately. My friend Jeremy Holt just put out a book called Made in Korea. Just had its debut, and I loved that first issue. Home, Shadecraft, Radiant Black are all other recent Image debuts that I'm really, really enjoying and looking forward to. I know that Joe is watching and listening and lurking, so I will just shout out Mad Cave, and Beckstar is another great debut.
Big fan.
I think I told Joe this. I think Beckstar is the best thing he's written. So I hope people are checking out that, and then just Mad Cave in general.
They're doing some good stuff. Nottingham's really good. Like a good, interesting take on Robin Hood, where they're kind of the villains and the sheriff of Nottingham's kind of the good guy in a way, and it's done like a police procedural almost in a way. And I think I told Joe that I thought it was the best thing ever. And I don't know if that's always the best thing to tell somebody, because then you're like, what, was my last stuff crap? Like, no.
Well, his last big publication was She Said Destroy with Liana, and I love them both. So I can't talk too negatively about how great that book is. But, it's important, I think, as a writer to, you have to level up once in a while. And I think that Joe really did with Beckstar.
I do too, but we're not here to jerk off Joe. We've done that plenty of times on this channel. So let's get the inside dirt. What's it really like working with Joe?
Oh,
I hear he drinks too much and he's so demanding, and I'm just joking. I'm joking about all of that. Writes lots of notes in red ink. Unless you've written a seminal run on, say, Doom Patrol or Wonder Woman that he loves, then he leaves you alone.
Yes.
Brian, what else you got?
You got any? I'm sure probably can't go into too much detail, but got some other pitches in the works, or?
I just submitted the first script for a new work for hire gig that I am not really allowed to talk about beyond that, which is disappointing, but I'm really excited about it. It's for a publisher I haven't worked for before. I have, some pitches in the works. After Deadbeats 2 wraps up, I'll be launching a personal Kickstarter for graphic novella that's going to be done in that oversized European style.
Cool.
And it's either going to be, it's actually going to just blow the doors off Kickstarter, or no one's going to pay any attention to it. There's definitely not going to be any happy medium there.
Nice. Looking forward to it. And anytime you got something like that coming up, you have an open door, homie. Just let us know.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. And one day we'll have to get you and Joe on the show, because I think that would be really fun. We'll even keep Brian around for laughs.
You can have us, you can listen to us bicker like an old married couple. It'll be great.
Yeah, I'm ready for that.
Yeah.
That sounds really fun and exciting, actually. That's yeah, I like that. You a sports fan at all, Eric?
I am. I'm a sports fan. I live in Seattle now. But I was born and raised in Northwest Ohio. And so I am a Detroit sports fan across the board. None of the Detroit teams are really all that remarkable lately, but with the exception of the Lions, all of the Detroit teams have won a championship in my lifetime. So
that is true. Yeah. That's a good. My buddy Hammer Time Holshoe, who co-founded PCP with me, is from Michigan. He's a big fan of the Tigers and the Lions and all of that jazz. So he's been having some rough times lately, though.
Yeah, it's not been a good year or decade.
When you said you lived in Seattle, Brian's eyes got real big because he's a Seahawks fan.
I see that blanket behind him. I was gonna comment on that.
Yeah. My dad born and raised there, and so I was the Seahawks franchise started when I was 5 years old. So yeah, it's been a long ride. So I can relate to some misery. The past decade's been pretty good for us, but not a lot of high points leading up to that. So
whatever. I'm a Cowboys fan, bro. Like, come on,
America's team.
Yeah, that's what they say. But like the last 25 years, I'm just like, what's up? Like, I picked y'all when I was a kid because y'all won every year. Like, what's going on now?
You just have to realize, you're lucky if you get one, right? You're lucky if you get one championship in your lifetime. And, think about all those people that were born and lived and died between Cubs championships. And
or that never saw the Red Sox,
Yeah.
Right. You could have had that 108-year drought. So.
Me and my homie Mike today were talking because, the NBA playoffs are going, and he was like, there's 11 NBA teams that have never won a championship. And I'm like, yes, because for 20 years, the Lakers and the Celtics just traded it off. Right. But it's astounding when you start thinking about it. Like, there are a lot of NBA franchises, and a lot of them are right now in the playoffs. And that's something that's exciting. Like, the Suns have never won. The Jazz have never won. The Clippers have never won. The Nets have never won. Like, that's wild stuff. It's been forever since the Bucks have won. It's crazy when you think about that. I am spoiled because I'm a Cowboys fan, and that aside, I'm also a Yankees and a Lakers fan. So I've had my fair share of championships. But I'll tell you this is the Cowboys' years. This is the Cowboys' year. Now, I say this every year, but I saw Dak Prescott at camp on ESPN last night. He's looking good. I'm excited. So there you go.
I got to say, I enjoy Tony Romo as a commentator.
Actually, yeah.
So much. I think he's a much better commentator than he was a quarterback.
I agree. He was like that he was like that guy that just did really good on the written test, but failed the driving test over and over. Kept breaking his collarbone over and over again. I bought a Tony Romo pop once, and I was afraid if I took it out of the package, it would just break.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if it's a good time to mention, but you still owe me that Taco Bell from the last time the Seahawks played the Cowboys.
Yeah, I'm aware of that, Brian. I'm aware of that.
Okay.
Yeah, when you want to go get Taco Bell, bro? Because right now they got the naked chicken chalupa, so I'm down any day. Let's do it.
Let's do it soon.
Okay, I'm busy. Maybe in a couple months, but
okay.
Yeah, just wait. I have a chance to do double or nothing, and then maybe.
Yeah, there we go.
I have to. I'll never buy you Taco Bell, Brian. You just wait and see. Okay. I actually owe Mike lunch now because I bet on him on the Lakers against the Suns, and felt very confident after Game 3, and then nope, that didn't pan out for us. So it's okay though. Anyway, nice. What's your favorite sport? If you could only watch or participate in one, what would it be, Eric?
So I think it's probably hockey. I can't
Nice.
play hockey, but I enjoy watching hockey more than anything else. I think football is a close second. But yeah, I'm really excited that, Seattle will have an NHL franchise after this year. That's going to be pretty great.
The Kraken.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Oh, a new team in Seattle. I don't have a dedicated hockey team, but I love playing. I love watching hockey. We have a local team here, Huntsville Havoc, that their games are always really exciting. So I've never really quite latched on to a team. There was a time in the 90s where I followed the Rangers, but that was really just because Gretzky was there. So around here, we're close to Nashville, Tennessee, so everybody's about the Predators, and I know they had a really good run a few years ago. So I don't know if they even – I don't know what they're doing right now. Did they make it through the playoffs, or did they get booted out? Anybody know? I have no idea.
They lost.
Yeah?
They
that
lost.
sucks.
Who was it? Carolina? I think Carolina might have knocked them out.
Carolina's got a hockey team.
Yeah.
Who plays hockey in Carolina?
They've won the Stanley Cup twice, I think.
I'm just
maybe.
joking.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of teams in the Southeast that don't make sense. I mean, and then Arizona has a team. I don't know that anyone native to Arizona has ever put on skates in their life, but
yeah. I was up in Winnipeg doing stuff, and the year that team moved to Phoenix, those people were pretty darn upset about that. I mean, they're Canadians, right? And then their team moves to the desert.
Right.
Yeah, it's crazy. So, but yeah.
All right. Now it's the time of the show where I ask you, Eric, if you have ever encountered or experienced anything supernatural or paranormal, or you ever seen an alien or UFO? Are you into aliens and UFOs? What's going on? What do you think? Do you have an unexplained paranormal experience that you'd like to share?
I feel like I'm letting everyone down because I don't.
That's
I don't
okay.
have one of these. And it's funny because I think that informs so much of my work is sort of wish fulfillment, right? Like I definitely am. I believe 100% that aliens exist. I don't know if they have ever visited Earth, and I'm really looking forward to the Biden administration releasing all of that footage and giving me the lowdown on whether we've got aliens among us or not.
Like you can trust them. Like you can trust the government. Like they've been lying to us about this shit for decades. Like we can trust them now.
It's so crazy that requirement that they release that information was sort of hidden in a separate, a completely separate bill. Like it was in the Recovery Act bill was this rider that the government had until the end of June to release all of its information about the existence of UFOs.
What do you make of have you seen any of the footage that they've released of the famous Tic Tac video? And do you have any? What's that?
Yeah, I've seen it. I've absolutely seen it, and that's absolutely seems legit. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's something that is extraterrestrial or if it's somebody has developed some technology that we didn't know about.
Which is, and there is an idea that I think is probably pretty good is that if we want to say the U.S. military probably is further along than the public thinks, right? Or knows, right? And then
Sure.
You got other governments as well. And so I know a lot of people are like, well, what if it's like a Chinese or a Russian drone or something? Well, if it is, that's something really crazy because those things are going incredibly fast. I mean, you hear the pilots talking and they're just like, what the hell? Those things are moving so fast. And in the video, it doesn't really seem like much, but we're in such a crazy time right now where they're starting to show and reveal this footage, mostly because of the dipshit from Blink 182, which what is this world we're living in? I don't even know. But there is something that they're getting us ready for, I think, so you believe aliens exist. You don't know if they visited. I'm kind of like that too. I don't know. Like, I have theories where I'm like, maybe it's ultra terrestrial, like other dimensional. Maybe it's like these entities that exist on another plane, or maybe it's just all psychological, but maybe it's what we have throughout the years labeled as gods or angels or demons or the Virgin Mary or ancestors or ghosts or anything like that. Right.
I need to be taking notes here, because this is all probably gonna end up in a comic in 6 months.
I hope so. If it does, I want to be the first one to get got by the aliens. Okay. I want to just have the person draw me in and just let me get got. That's what I want.
I don't. Like I said, I just turned in the first script for a new work for hire thing, and a lot of it deals very heavily, and I'm being very careful, because I don't want the publisher to send, armed men to my house while I'm sleeping.
Yeah, and I don't want to have to tell I don't want to have to tell everybody that Eric will never appear on the show again, because.
But yeah, it deals very much with ghosts. There is that particular supernatural element exists and tries, and the book is going to try and establish a sort of science fictional explanation for ghosts.
Nice.
So I hope people check it out. I don't think that spoils anything, so hopefully I will live to write issue 2.
I hope so too. What do you have any thoughts on ghosts in general? Do you believe that's a legit phenomenon, or do you think it's something else?
I think that there's a possibility. I know a lot of people who are otherwise. I have not personally experienced a ghost, but I know a lot of people who are otherwise completely rational human beings have told me in confidence or publicly with absolute certainty that they have encountered ghosts. So I have no reason to doubt them, no reason to think they're lying. If you believe in conservation of energy, which is, a law of physics, then why couldn't that extend to the human soul?
Yeah, absolutely. Or why can it not extend through all time and space and say, like, everything that ever happened in one moment in one location is always happening, because all of the past, future, and present is all equally real according to the rules of physics. Like, sure. When you look at the math, it's all there. The future, we can break this all down, but we ain't got time for that. And how
everyone should just go watch Devs on FX, and that'll give you a pretty good baseline. Listen to Devs, or watch Devs, and then watch Matthew McConaughey's "Time is a Flat Circle" speech from True Detective season 1, and then I think that just explains everything you need to know about time and space, and how physics works.
I would add in, read the book Fabric of the Cosmos by Brian Greene, but if that book is too heavy for most of you, I would recommend just watching the Nova special that they did, a 4-part special, Fabric of the Cosmos. If that doesn't make you put your Teen Dog shades on and blow your mind away, you don't even know. The more that we learn about reality, the more we learn that we don't know what the hell reality is.
Brian Greene from Beverly Hills 90210, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yes, the same one. Yeah, the same one. It's a very interesting career move when he took that segue from physics into 90210.
I mean, if Brian May from Queen can have a PhD in astrophysics, then I wouldn't put past anyone.
There you go, man. Hell yeah. So awesome. Great conversation tonight. So let's bring it back to what you got coming up. Blacksmith, that's in July, right?
Yeah, July 7th, issue 1 will be in stores, and then monthly thereafter. It's a 5-issue miniseries. Hopefully we'll wrap up towards the end of the year, and then there'll be a trade, hopefully in time for Christmas, because who doesn't want werewolf PIs for under the Christmas tree?
I know. I mean, I do. Like 100%. Brian, come on, hook me up.
Oh, it's a natural fit. Yeah. No, I'm
yeah. You get me one for Christmas, I'll get you one for Christmas.
Does that make good?
Does that make sense? In fact, why don't you just get one and I'll get one, and instead of actually swapping, we'll just pretend like it's each other's gifts.
And then Taco Bell.
Yeah, Taco Bell.
We'll do it at Taco Bell. Yeah, we'll do that at Taco Bell.
The gift exchange at Taco Bell. I'm down for that. I'm really cool. Yeah, I don't really like going to all the different families and doing all that kind of stuff. Like, we should all just meet at Taco Bell. Everybody I know just meets on Taco Bell. Are they even open on Christmas? You know they're open on Christmas. How annoying would that be to be like, just come up into Taco Bell with all these people at Christmas to open up your presents? We're doing it. We're doing it now. That's what we're doing. All right. Deadbeats Volume 2, London Calling, is on Kickstarter right now. There's a link down below. Talk about that one more again.
Yeah, I mean, it's a phenomenal collection of musically inspired short horror stories by just a murderer's row of, and in some cases literally, of new and upcoming comics talent. Ron Mars, Lila Sturgis, Jody Hauser, myself, and Joe Corallo editing once again. It's going to be a beautiful companion to our first volume. I hope people check it out on Kickstarter.
Yes, and if you haven't gotten the first one, there is a tier where you can get 1 and 2 together. There's also a t-shirt. There's the signed book. There's lots of cool swag.
Yeah, I'm wearing my Volume 1 t-shirt right now. So
nice.
Nice.
Nice. That's super cool. I'm also wearing a nope, I'm not. I'm wearing a Kid and Play shirt. Just kidding. Anyway. All right. Brian, what you got? Final thoughts?
Well, yeah, I guess I want to let people know how to get a hold or follow you on social media. And
yeah, I am very active on Twitter at Eric Palicki. I am not as active as I should be on Instagram, also at Eric Palicki. And you can also find my website at www.ericpalicki.com.
Hell yeah. Eric, thank you so much for joining us on behalf of me and Brian, the PCP crew, excitable we are, and the PCP Army. We thank you for spending some time with us on a Thursday night. And we hope that this is not the first and last time, but the first of many.
I hope so. This was fantastic. I had a great time. Thank you so much for having me. I'm looking forward to coming back soon.
Hell yeah. All right, PCP Army, we are dipping out, but I would highly encourage you to go check out the Kickstarter for Deadbeats Volume 2, London Calling. I have signed up. Brian have signed up. We signed up the first day. That's just how hardcore we are, and we know that you are just as hardcore as we are. So y'all join up, show the love, spread it out there. Let's get this funded. Let's just get this awesomeness. You do not want to miss this, and you're going to love the first book, and I'm sure we're going to love the second one. And check out Blacksmith as well, a great cover artist, great interior artist, and a pretty decent guy doing the writing.
He's all right.
Yeah, as we found out tonight. So Eric, Brian, thank you so much. PCP Army, we love you. Your work